My name is Marcia Marins, and I am a member of the League of Women Voters of Chautauqua County, a former director of the League of Women Voters of the United States, and a past state league president. I am moderator with my good friend Judy Reynolds for this evening's Meet the Candidates Forum, sponsored by the League of Women Voters. While we never endorse a candidate, we are directly involved in shaping the important issues to keep our community strong. We are, by polling, the most trusted organization in America. As a league member, I have the opportunity to contribute in a leadership role, such as this one, that has great impact on local, state, and even national issues. If you are interested in learning more about the League of Women Voters and how you can make a similar impact, I would encourage you to pick up some information available here tonight, or visit our website at lwvchautauqua.org or lwv.org. We want everyone to vote and to be confident that their vote will count. But also, and more importantly, we want voters to be informed. There is a voter's guide that you can get on the front table that will help you evaluate the 6 ballot proposals that will be on the November ballot. The proposals are amendments to the New York State Constitution. Read about the amendments and decide whether you wish to vote for or against each one. Look carefully for them on the ballot. Sometimes they're easy to miss. The League of Women Voters does not have positions for or against any of the proposed amendments on the ballot this year. These debates are conducted for informational purposes only, without a hidden agenda, and are controlled by principles of nonpartisanship. I'm asking you to please turn off your cell phones, or you can vibrate if that's the way you like them. We request no unauthorized videos, and the League wants to be sure that the information is not manipulated to create false or misleading impressions. We are happy to present Meet the Candidates program, where candidates and interested voters such as you and the people at home watching this live tonight on channel 96.1 if they've reprogrammed their computers, their televisions, or channel 5 if they have a cable box. And we hope you can ask questions by phone and by calling in 664-1346, or ask questions right here, right now, in this venue.
And as you watch and listen to the debate, we do have some suggestions that might help you. Number one, think ahead. Ask yourself which issues are most important to you, and if they are specific, sincere, knowledgeable. And as I say, keep track of topics. Are the candidates being asked about your priority issues? Are the questions fair and pertinent? Talk it out with your family and friends. Did the debate sway your decision? And did you learn something new about the candidate's position? And most importantly, vote on November 5th, where you make your voice known.
So with us this evening are the candidates for County Executive, Mr. Horrigan and Mr. Johnson. All candidates have 2 minutes to respond to a question they received prior to this meeting and include a brief presentation discussing their qualifications. After the opening statements, candidates will have the ability to question one another, and members of the audience will be urged to ask questions of any candidate or both candidates. If a question is addressed to a specific candidate, the other candidate can be welcome to add comments and replies of their own. Each reply for this debate for County Executive will be limited to 1 minute. and rebuttals for 30 seconds. We're shortening it so we can separate the county clerk candidates from the county executive candidates. So I hope you will understand. It should be very rapid fire from this podium. And at the end of the question period, each candidate will have regular 1 minute for a few closing words, delivered in reverse order from that of the opening statements, and that was done by lottery. But here is the question they received. What is the most urgent problem facing Chautauqua County today? And what is the first thing you might do to help solve it within your frame of action if elected? Mr. Horrigan drew number 2, so we will begin with Mr. Johnson.
Good evening. I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting this candidate forum, and for all of you for being here, and for my opponent, Mr. Horrigan, for participating as well. I'm Ron Johnson. I'm running for county executive because I'm deeply concerned about the economic future of the county my family has called home for 5 generations. Retaining jobs we have and helping create new ones must be the primary focus of the next county executive. New leadership is required, and I plan on providing that leadership. The record of job losses over the last 8 years in this county is clear, and the record is terrible. Chautauqua County has 7,000 fewer people employed in just 7 years ago. 7,000. That's right, we have lost 11% of our workforce in less than a decade. Our Industrial Development Agency has cost too much and achieved too little. We can't solve problems by using the same kind of thinking we used to create them. That's why I've said when it comes to job creation and economic development, we have to rethink everything. To me, the choice is clear. We can move forward and turn our county around, or we can stick with the same tried and true failed policies that repackaged for an election run. For decades, I have been a successful businessman who has helped turn companies around. I know how to be effective, how to be an administrator, and how to meet a payroll. I've served my country in combat. I've served my town as town justice. I've served my county as a deputy sheriff for 20 years. Together, we can solve these problems. And together, we will solve all of the problems facing us.
Thank you. Mr. Horrigan.
Well, thank you. I echo Ron's comments on thanking the League, especially thank the young people for being here. No better force for change than a new generation. I was born in Cleveland, Ohio, and as a kid spent time on Chautauqua Lake and Bemis Point. And in the 71 time frame, drafted in the Army. Spent 28 years, switched to the Air Force. And during that time, I had incredible opportunities in senior leadership positions. As a deputy commander of an F-15 combat fighter wing with operations in Bosnia and Iraq, and then as a numbered Air Force deputy commander for European Air Forces involved in airlift operations, special operations, and combat operations. Also had an opportunity in security assistance, international programs dealing with major weapons system sales. I returned back to Chautauqua County and fortunate to get into another area of service, community service, as director of the American Red Cross during a time where we had to restructure and reorganize to boost our services across the southern tier. Then on to the legislature. The number one problem facing us is that we are declining in job growth, in job base, in tax base, in our population. The number one thing I'm going to do about it is to implement a 3-step plan that involves lean government, involves creating opportunity to move people from poverty to self-sufficiency, and then focusing on our existing businesses and infrastructure. That's what it's going to take to get us onto growth. Growth is essential because that is how we're going to bring our people home, our young kids home. It's how we're going to create economic security that we all so desperately need. Thank you.
Now we'll open our meeting to a question and answer format. And hopefully some wonderful questions have come to mind. If you wish to ask a question from the audience, please stand, and we ask you not to make statements as our interest is with the response of the candidates. And if you're really shy, we have cards and pencils that you can write your question and somebody will pick it up for you. On those in television land, you can call 664-1436 to phone in your questions as well.
Oh, I have two different numbers, 1346. I'm not sure which it is now, so we have two different. Minda Ray, what's the number? 1346 or 1436? 1346. Okay.
Sorry about that. It's 1346.
And Mrs. Marion, your time is up.
Yes, it is. But you wouldn't want anybody who wants to ask you a question not to. All right. So
Now
the
you-
first question is,
Just a reminder that their response is 1 minute and rebuttals are 30 seconds.
right.
The first question. Both of you see a strong need for the North County Water District. As county executive, what would you do if Fredonia refused to join? Who's first?
Johnson.
The
Mr.
first-
Johnson.
The first thing we have to do is with the county, with all the programs in the county, we have to find partnerships with our local government. We have to recognize the investments that they've made to infrastructure, and we have to use those investments in the whole. If we can consolidate the things that we've done already and move toward the things in the future, we'll find that we're way more successful. We'll have more success politically, we'll have more success with the people involved, and we'll have more success with the projects that we need desperately to get underway.
What we've got to do is circle back to where we left off during the water district discussions. I've talked to both communities. The real story that we have to get back to is understanding the reservoir in Fredonia and understanding the numbers and the data as we look at how the district is currently designed without Fredonia. We need to circle back and bring the numbers together again, because I don't believe we have done enough work on understanding the information. It is in our best interest to have two of us together on this. So as county executive, what I want to do is go back and relook at this so we can come to an understanding of the real costs and try to bring this together. I believe we can do this. I have not been involved in the actual numbers, and my information is we need to come back again and start looking at the reservoir and the district. Can we put it together?
Thank you. Question?
Good evening. To both of the candidates, why do you feel you are either qualified to operate or to sell the county home?
Mr. Horrigan.
Qualified to sell the county home because I have done the research. As county legislator, I have studied the numbers, I have been in the home, and I have done research with the new buyer. I feel qualified and I feel very secure in my decision to privatize the county home. We have a buyer that is going to come in, provide quality health care. They are going to provide new opportunities, new jobs. We are going to put the county home on the tax base, and we are going to make it sustainable, and that is essential. We've got to have a sustainable, high-quality facility that is not losing the money at the rate that it is. So I feel very qualified to be able to privatize the home in that decision.
Mr. Johnson?
I've been in the assisted living and nursing home business for almost 30 years. I've been appointed by federal judges to turn failing facilities around. One was in New York City and one was in Margate, Florida. They were in terrible shape, and my job was, number one, to stop the bleeding. There is not one bank or investment group that I would know of that would stand for a facility to lose money for 7 years. It's absolutely ridiculous, without doing anything whatsoever to stop that bleeding. And what we can do is we can stop the bleeding in the county home. We can turn that around, and that needs to be job one. And when we turn it around, and then we do the search for a buyer, because then we don't have a bargain basement sale to whoever will show up. And we'll say, I've heard that we don't have any buyers. We seem to have them lining up at 16.5.
May I rebut or not?
You can, 30 seconds though.
My opponent keeps saying the only time we lost money is the last 7 years, so I pulled the data. During the Mark Thomas administration, we lost $336,000 on average every year. The first term. The second term, $2.5 million average every year. For the first term of the Edwards administration, $478,000. And finally, for the last term, $2.9. We have a study here that's been done in depth on every level. Plus, it's backed up by other studies. It cannot be
Thank
turned
you.
around.
You have 30 seconds if you want to.
The study was also to tell us what we could do to turn that facility around. The other thing is, in those numbers that show losses, there's depreciation, which is not a cash loss. There's also $500,000 in rent paid to the county. If we sell that facility, we still have the cost of Medicaid to any bed, no matter who owns it, private or all the private and not-for-profit beds. We still have a Medicaid share that the county has to pay.
Thank you. Both of you favor safe horizontal hydrofracking and safe disposal of its toxic products. But many experts, such as Cornell professor Anthony Ingraffia, says there's no such thing as safe fracking or disposal of this kind, and the documentary films Gaslands 1 and 2 show many families driven from their land after their water was polluted by the effects of supposedly safe drilling. What makes you willing to risk our water supply for a short period of gas production? We'll begin with Mr. Johnson.
I've tried to study the idea of fracking and the issue of fracking. It's difficult to find someone who knows anything about it who's in the middle. Everyone who knows about it is on one side of the issue or the other. It's difficult for me to do that. I believe that we have to embrace any kind of economic development projects in the county. That would include fracking. But what I am uncomfortable with is that the companies that do this will not reveal what they use in the chemicals when they do the hydrofracking. That part of it, they would have to come clean on that for me to support fracking in this county. But once they did that, then we'd have another discussion.
Mr. Horrigan.
This continues to be a discussion, an argument, a win or a lose. It continues to be driven by emotion. Emotion turns to facts, facts turns to emotion. We have got to do this reliably and safely. We cannot sit here and say one film is an answer or that the company really knows what, in all cases, what they're going to do. We got to bring it together reliably and safely. We have an energy conference this Friday and Saturday at Chautauqua Inn and Suites. I am in favor of looking at the energy solutions to Chautauqua County and our nation, which is essential, especially from a national security, as a portfolio. We need to be able to have the types of energies in sufficient quantities so we can drive our economy, so we can repower NRG. Can you imagine NRG Dunkirk with no more gas? We wouldn't want that at all.
Thank you.
County ID leadership has cost the taxpayers a lot of money, and I don't see a benefit to the North region, the North County region. What I would like to know, Mr. Johnson, is what you would do as county executive to change this.
First, we're going to change the leadership in the Chautauqua County IDA. I don't have any problem with the IDA board. They're volunteers, and they give the county great service. I've found that boards can only they can only succeed with the materials they're given. I'll begin an immediate site analysis of every economic development potential site in the county. so I can know exactly what the investment we have to make in each one of those sites and how we can make them marketable. I'll put that in a catalog, and I will get outside the county. I will aggressively approach developers to bring them to our county instead of wait here for them. I'm going to make a partnership with our local, state, and federal partners in order to get back in the game. My goal is to have projects in the pipeline for the next round of funding in the Governor's Regional Economic Development Council. I want to have projects in the pipeline this year for the next round.
Thank you. Mr. Horgan?
I'm going to implement the North Chautauqua County Regional Economic Development Strategic Plan that's been designed right up here in the North County. Private sector leadership, that's why I'm in favor of privatizing the county home. Technology innovation, we've got the technology incubator here, that's important, we will continue to emphasize that. Lake area tourism, we've got an LWRP, a waterfront revitalization initiative underway, a CFA application, consolidated funding. We need to increase and work on the tourism from a cluster standpoint here along the North Shore. Dredging's essential. Hopefully the water bill that's now before Congress will give us additional funds for dredging the Lake Erie harbors. Workforce development is the other initiative, followed up by cluster potential, food service, food processing, which really relates to the water district up here. That's why it's so essential we get that done.
Thank you.
Can I have 30 seconds?
Yep.
Okay, we also have to start from day one with focusing on Startup New York. We have potential with the campuses at SUNY Fredonia and also the 2 campuses at JCC. We're also going to look into the feasibility of industrial, business, and technology parks, especially in agribusiness and technology. It worked in Mark Thomas's time. It's going to work in another time, and that's one of the things I'm going to do. Thank you.
Thank you. A rebuttal isn't a continuation. A rebuttal is addressing something specific that one candidate has said to another. Yep.
So I got that one in, didn't I?
You did, but you won't get it even again. You thought I wasn't listening, but I was.
This isn't my first rodeo.
Nor mine.
My question is for both candidates. The crime and hard drugs have become an increasing problem in Chautauqua County. How will you work with our county sheriff to cut down the rise in crime in our county?
We'll begin with Mr. Horgan.
First of all, you bring drugs in this county, you prey on our kids, you go to jail. A hard stance on that. As far as the treatment, the rehabilitation, the rehab treatment for our drug situation in the county, I believe is not as effective as it needs to be. There is general consensus on that. We really have to look at how we're structuring, implementing, and evaluating our drug treatment programs. The drug problems, when I've talked to both Chief Artolano and Chief Snellings in Dunkirk and Jamestown, clearly part of the problem is the sentences that are given, people are back out on the street fairly quickly. So what we've got to do is we've got to work together with the judges, with the sheriffs, with the drug treatment plans in a coalition approach to do everything we can on both the supply and the demand side. But we cannot accept drug use as something that is just kind of continuing on. We got to be tough on it.
Thank you. Mr. Johnson.
I've worked with the sheriff for, well, the sheriff started, I was his training officer, and he rode in my vehicle. Sheriff Gerasi and I have known each other for more than 30 years. I plan on doing some things with the sheriff, and I plan on engaging with him and fixing some of these problems. Drugs are a big problem in this county, and we have to find the solution. When we say we're going to put everybody in jail, we've got a problem that we only have just so many jail cells, and they seem to be full. So we have to do some new thinking about this. We can't go back to the old tried and true. We got to find something new, and I plan on doing that with Sheriff Gerasi.
Okay, we're going to have one more question before closings.
Mr. Horgan, you put a lot of faith in development zones associated with college campuses, but the Dunkirk incubator has created few jobs and is mostly empty. Why do you expect this to change?
Well, when I talked to the director of the incubator, the first step was to get the incubator up and running and full. So we took some chances, we took some risks to be able to get entrepreneurs in there. That was step one, to get it up and running. Step two now is to refine the criteria for people to get in there to actually develop and grow jobs. But I don't think we can sit here and predict exactly how we're going to move from maybe a bit ineffective, but we've got people in there, to very successful business. I think it's an evolutionary process. We continue to work on it. There are hot spots out there. There are launch pads. All the states are doing these kinds of things. We got to stick with it. We got to continue to work with it. We've got to be able to reach out to those that are entrepreneurs. Our kids coming back home, let's get them back here to see if we can get them into these type of programs to be able to deliver something. Thank you.
One thing we could do is we could assist the incubator by building something so we can attract an employer here. That's one of the things we have to do. We have to raise the funds to do that, and we have to get in the game. There is a lot of funds. There's money coming to Western New York, and Chautauqua County is lagging behind in application and in creative ideas. If we can get involved and we can bring that money to Chautauqua County, instead of $1 billion to Buffalo, we can talk of some of that money right here at home. We can support the incubator, and we can start to see some successes there.
Can I
Thank
rebut?
If it's a rebuttal, 30 seconds.
Yeah. Building something without a revenue stream is the wrong idea. Mark Thomas tried it, was criticized by the comptroller's report. We lost $1.8 million of fund balance. You don't build something unless you have a predictable revenue stream. So I disagree with that approach. We've got to make sure that when we go bond and we go build, that there's a reason, a buyer, a business ready to do that. That's why we use incentives. We just don't build something without a revenue stream.
We're really short.
Yeah, but I've got 30 seconds.
You do.
We've got, if we used that thinking, we would not have Serta Mattress, we would not have Southern Tier Brewing, and we would not have Bush Industries, and we would not have the industries that are in those industrial parks. They were built before we found the employer, and then we went out and found them. I disagree wholly to do this passive approach that someone will come and then we'll build them something. We have to attract business here.
Thank you. This is the last question, though.
I have a very short question for Mr. Horgan. How many times have you voted off party lines, and how would you distinguish yourself from Mr. Edwards?
I have no idea how many times I voted off party line. The difference between myself and Mr. Edwards is he's been the county executive for 8 years. I've been in the legislature for 1.5 years. I have not been involved in his economic development plan. I've not been involved in any of the structural changes that he's made. I would say that probably the biggest difference is leadership style. As you know, I have a lean government approach. This is where we go down and we talk to the employees, we get their ideas, we look at improving our processes, improving with the employee-based decision. More of a bottom-up than a top-down. That is my style, which, in my impression, I have not seen from Mr. Edwards.
Okay.
Now we will allow 1 minute for concluding statement, and we begin with Mr. Harrigan.
We don't need to rethink everything, ladies and gentlemen. We've done enough thinking. We've done enough studying. We need to implement. This is the Chautauqua County 2020 plan. Here's the Northern Chautauqua Economic Development Plan. We've got 8 award-winning plans that are all about trying to develop and work Chautauqua County. So why hasn't it worked? It's about leadership and implementation. As I look ahead, we have a very bright future. This is about looking ahead, not looking in the rearview mirror. We need good leadership. We need to celebrate our successes. We need confidence. And we as a team as the county, not-for-profits, faith-based, all of us together need to be able to get moving forward to that success where we have more taxpayers, not more taxes.
Mr. Johnson?
Resources once used to grow the county have been squandered and mismanaged. Core services have been cut to the point where compromising the actual service delivery. Long-term firms are cutting back and leaving the area. Potential employers frustrated in their attempts to invest in our region by the county's lack of planning and infrastructure. We are continually told that the administration is powerless, that they are paralyzed by high taxes, deficit budgets, and state mandates. Successful businessmen deal with these realities every day. I plan to move forward aggressively, build and invest in what we need to attract business and return our county to opportunity and promise. I cannot do this alone. I need your support, I need your participation, I need your creativity, and I need your dreams. Vote November 5th. Our future is bright. I believe in us.
Thank you very much, candidates, and we'll move on to the county clerk candidates. Thank you very much. With us this evening are the candidates for county clerk, Mr. Barmore and Mrs. Cornell. The same debate rules apply. 1 minute agreed by the candidates to respond to a question. 2 minutes to respond to the question they received prior to this meeting, with a brief presentation discussing their qualifications. They can question each other, and members of the audience can also question the candidates. Replies will be limited for 1 minute to 1 minute, and candidates may rebut for 30 seconds. At the end of the question period, each candidate will also have 1 minute for closing words. The question is the same one that the county executives fielded, and that is, what is the most urgent problem facing Chautauqua County today, and what is the first thing you might do to help solve it within your frame of action if elected? And we will begin with Mrs. Cornell.
Thank you very much, and thank you all for being here, and to the League of Women Voters for hosting this debate. And thank you to my sons, Ben and Nate, with excellent behavior in the front row, please, boys. And I know, it's kind of humorous. I was very excited. We just put out our campaign's YouTube video, and right away I received all kinds of critical, not all kinds, but a couple critical notes about being a young mother. And I'm proud to be a young mother in service on behalf of our community, and attempting to teach my children the good behavior and the educational opportunities like this. But please note the strength and courage of seating them in the first row, Nate Cornell. I am a Dunkirk native and a current Jamestown resident. I'm married to Chuck Cornell, have 2 other sons in addition to Ben and Nate here. I've served as a county legislative leader and have fought in support of tax and spending cuts, led the effort to provide for a nonpartisan independent redistricting commission, long supported the reduction of the size of the legislature, 4-H, and neighborhood revitalization. I've been a small business consultant dedicated to our community's success, an adjunct professor at JCC, and I'm an educated professional with a bachelor's from Notre Dame and master's from St. Bonaventure University. What is our most urgent problem facing Chautauqua County? It's our economy, not only an issue for the county executive, but for the county clerk as well. We need more jobs and we need to cut our taxes. The county clerk can play a supportive role in strengthening our economy and alleviating our property tax burden by cutting the cost of the clerk's office operations, returning funds to the county treasury, and ultimately to the taxpayer. Lower taxes mean a better climate to grow and attract business. More business means more jobs for our community. I am a strong fiscal conservative and plan to continue my record in support of Chautauqua County's best interests as county clerk.
Thank you. Mr. Barmore.
Good evening. I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting the event tonight. I'd like to thank Mrs. Cornell for participating, and all you people who've come out tonight to educate yourself before voting. I'm Larry Barmore, and I'd like to be your next county clerk. I'm a lifelong resident of Chautauqua County. In fact, my family has been in Chautauqua County since 1817. I live in Gary with my wife Carol. I have 3 children grown and 7 grandchildren. I've been a business owner, managing the daily operations for more than 40 years. I'm also in my 6th year in the legislature, serving in leadership for the 3rd year. I'd like to start by saying the county clerk's office is the only office that operates without any of your tax dollars and even generates enough extra revenue to support other county departments. The biggest issue facing the county that the county clerk has control over is keeping the money coming in so you don't have to pay more property tax. Over the next 3 years, because of the change to an 8-year driver's license, our DMV stands to lose a lot of money because we're entering the 3-year period where we will have no driver's license renewals. That's a loss of revenue from about 14,000 transactions per year. My plan to tackle that problem that I've been talking about since May is to relaunch the Renew Locally program without spending your tax dollars to do so. My plan is more than just a catchphrase. I actually have a detailed, specific plan of exactly what we're going to do and how we're going to do it. So on January 2nd, if you elect me your county clerk, I will start to put the plan into action immediately so that we can continue to keep your taxes from paying for services at the DMV and the clerk's office. Thank you.
Thank you.
For both candidates. The predecessor did a great job streamlining and computerizing operations of the office of the county clerk. What would you do that is different?
Ms. Cornell?
Start again. Thank you, and I have nothing but the highest respect for our current and retiring county clerk, especially as a woman leader. I think Sandy Sopak is one of the longest serving and most admired women in all of Chautauqua County's history. I think she might even be the longest serving elected official in all of New York State, or one of the longest serving women in all of New York State. What am I going to do as county clerk to continue to carry out her legacy and move us forward and progress into the future? 3 major things. First, I'm going to cut costs in our county clerk's office. My number 1 goal is to provide quality service, but to do so at a lower cost. And how am I going to cut the costs of the county clerk's office? By use of our ever-changing technology and innovation. Just one example is the new requirement by the Office of Court Administration to now file court records electronically. I'm going to work with local attorney's office to do that effectively and provide for that cost savings. Wow, that was a fast
Thank you.
minute.
Yep.
Thank you.
But you said it quickly.
This is the 1 minute.
1 minute.
Oh, okay.
We're 1 minuting now.
The county clerk's office performs specific functions that are heavily regulated by state and federal laws. There are laws that govern everything from how the DMVs function to how a deed is recorded. The only thing you can change is workflow, and right now that flow is working very well because of massive upgrades in technology made by Sandy Sopak just 2 years ago. So what am I going to do better? Over the next 4 years, we'll continue to look at ways to improve on what's there by continuing to enhance the use of technology that's available, by including the staff in the process and working with the attorneys and title searchers who use our services daily. I sent out a letter in May telling the attorneys of my plan to make Deputy County Clerk Tracy Kaminsky-Haskin, who has dedicated the last 10 years to learning all the various laws that we must abide by, the liaison between their offices and ours to improve communication and enhance our service to them, which in turn saves you, the taxpayer, money.
Perfect. Yes.
I, over the last few years, have watched both of you be very active, important people in your legislative roles. And I would like to know why each of you are leaving those important positions to apply to be our county clerk.
Mr. Barmore.
Thank you. My longtime employee and I have discussed for a number of years that one day he would take over the business. I would move on, sell out to him. When the county clerk's position became available, that made that time today. So we've been having discussions over the last year. We're working towards a sale for my employee to take over the business, and that's why I've decided to run for the county clerk's office. I feel I'm extremely qualified. My 40 years of experience in business and customer service is what the county clerk does every day. That's what I will continue to do when I become your next county clerk on January 1st. Thank you.
Ms. Cornell?
Thank you. I've worked for 15 years in both the public and private sector, but as I often like to say, public service is my real passion. There's nothing that I'd rather do than to work on behalf of our community and attempt to make a positive difference in people's lives. Why leave the legislature then and run for the office of Chautauqua County Clerk? It's an opportunity to serve the people of Chautauqua County in the place that I love at a higher level and on a full-time basis, and to well utilize my strengths in organizational leadership and my proactive approach to local government.
Thank you. Yes?
Mrs. Cornell, you and Sandy Sopak have very different approaches to the job of county clerk. You stated that you are a policymaker and your strength is working for policymakers and it's not a management position. And you've complimented Mr. Barmore on his management style. Sandy Sopak has been a hands-on manager for the last 20 years, and my question to you is, who will be the manager of those daily functions while you are setting policy, and what kind of policy will you set? As Mrs. Sopak has only set 3 pieces of legislation to the legislature in the last 10 years. So I'm curious as to what your function is going to be and who's going to manage the daily operation.
Sure. Well, the position of county clerk is not a policy-making position, so I'm running for county clerk to become an administrative leader, and I would take on the appropriate leadership role as county clerk. I think it's important to also note the difference between an effective manager and an effective leader. I often cite Peter Drucker, who is kind of a known management guru in that field, and he likes to say many people are managers, but a good manager doesn't necessarily make for a good leader. He defines leadership as the ability to motivate and inspire, and is often quoted as saying, management is doing things right, leadership is doing the right things. As a manager in the county clerk's office, not a policymaker, as a manager in the county clerk's office, I will plan and organize and carry out the important duties of the county clerk. But as a leader, I will provide the motivation necessary to encourage and support the dedicated staff.
Thank you.
Rebut?
A rebut.
Yes.
Okay, 30 seconds.
Mrs. Cornell continues to insinuate that I'm not a leader. I lead my business every day. You can call me whatever you want, but I lead them. I would remind her that the person who leads the hundreds of employees every day at Carriage House is called the plant manager. The person who leads hundreds of employees every day at Walmart is known as the store manager. You can call him a manager, you can call him a leader, whatever you want. But we're leaders. I'm a leader. I've always been a leader and will continue to be a leader.
You have 30 seconds.
Thank you. There's an important difference between management and leadership, and Mr. Barmore can criticize me, even though I got highly criticized from many of my supporters all day today for using my full 2 minutes of a response in last night's debate in Dunkirk for complimenting you for your micro-level management. And Mr. Barmore has successfully, as a legislator, been a micro-level manager. I'm a macro-level manager. I address, as a legislator, the big policy issues. Ask any of my legislative colleagues out there. I take on a leadership role.
Thank you. Both of you have been leaders in your respective political parties, and you both declare that the county clerk's office is not a partisan office. Mrs. Cornell yesterday said she couldn't get a tour of the office until she won the election, and Mr. Barmore said he went on a tour of the office to learn about it. So it seems to me that it is a partisan office. So how do you see yourselves fitting into this nonpartisan position? Mr. Barmore.
Well, Mrs. Cornell is incorrect because Mrs. Cornell has never asked for a tour of the county clerk's office because everybody there is treated fairly. Doesn't matter who you are in a county office, doesn't matter if you walk into HR, if you walk into insurance, if you walk into the county clerk's office. It doesn't matter what party you belong to, it doesn't matter who you are. you are treated with respect and equally in all departments of county government. All Mrs. Cornell would have to do is call Mrs. Sopak and ask for a tour, and she would be granted one at any time. I asked Mrs. Sopak this morning, had she been asked, because this did come up last night, and Mrs. Sopak has not been asked to give Mrs. Cornell a tour. That's why she has not taken one.
Thank you.
With all due respect, Mr. Barmer, I don't know how you know whether or not I've asked, and I have talked personally with many of the employees in the county clerk's office and have been asked by them respectfully, and I will respect their wishes, to allow the election process to finish, and then they would be happy to work together as a team. I need to respect that. And as the next county clerk, I will take a nonpartisan approach to the office. The office of county clerk should not be a partisan office. It's not a policy-making position. And you tell me the Republican way to record a deed accurately or the Democratic way to efficiently run the DMV, and I just do not know what that is. The county clerk is a nonpartisan position, period, and that's the approach I'm going to take.
Thank you. Our next question. Oh, sorry.
It's all right. This is for Mr. Barmore. Yesterday in the Dunkirk debate, you stated you believe that the Chautauqua County home is worth more than what Vestra Care is willing to pay, minus the accounts receivable of over $1 million. Isn't it true that the 16.5 is the figure that the current administration asked for that facility?
No, that is not correct. That is not the figure that they have asked. That is the figure that's been offered. Do I think that the county home is worth more than $16.5 million? Yes, I do. I mean, it costs more than that to build it. But the thing is what something is worth is a combination of what someone will pay and what someone is willing to sell it for, and they've come upon an agreement. Now, I've heard people say we need to turn it around a little bit, you know, make it a little more profitable, wait a couple years and sell it for more money. You know, we may be able to do that. But we're losing over $3 million per year. The county home has received $17.6 million in IGT funding in the last 6 years alone. If we keep it 2 more years, we're going to lose another $6.5 million. We need to get $23 million just to break even where we are today. So why don't we sell it now while we have a quality buyer in place, get the property on the tax rolls, collect the $800,000 a year.
Thank you very much. Do you want to respond, or do you want to say anything about that?
Sure, just very briefly, I think the question was to Mr. Barber, but if you don't mind, I think the community, especially in Dunkirk and Fredonia, knows how hard I fought against the last buyer of the county home that was proposed in January, February. I think he was, to put it frankly, a slumlord from Chicago with a very poor record, questionable issues with some abuse and neglect in prior homes. And no, I'll continue to look out for the best interests of all of Chautauqua County, and particularly for those most vulnerable in our community, like the seniors in our county home.
Thank you. Our next question.
Both of you have mentioned that the county clerk's office supports genealogical research. How would you promote its touristic potential? Who's next?
Ms. Cornell.
Thank you. Great question, too. And you strike in an issue that fascinates me because of the potential for opportunity in the county clerk's office. I've talked about how I hope to streamline services with technology and cut the costs of the county clerk's office. But the other part of the equation of my goal is to increase the revenue streams in the office. And I hope to use my background, and I've talked a lot about my public sector work. Well, I have a private sector hat too, and I've done extensive marketing work. And I'd like to use my marketing experience to better market the many revenue producing opportunities in the county clerk's office. Just one of which, and very importantly, is the marketing of access to our genealogical records. It's not a field that I've delved into extensively. I'm not a genealogical researcher per se myself, but apparently it's a huge area of tourism, and I'd like to tap into that as much as possible.
Thank you. Another.
turn?
Yep,
Yes.
sure.
You can market the genealogy qualities of Stock County all you want to, but the basic is if you don't have family that was born or lived here, nobody's going to come here to search. You don't go where you don't have family. I'm a genealogist myself. I've been a genealogist for more than 30 years. I know the kind of records that people are looking for when they come to the county to search their family histories. Many of you may not know, but hundreds of people come to Chautauqua County every year to search the records of their families. People are really interested in finding out where they came from. And while they're here, you know, we make a few bucks at the county clerk's office because they're getting copies of documents and like that. But the real economic engine is the people coming here and staying in the hotels, going to the restaurants, buying gasoline, buying supplies. It's not as big as Chautauqua Lake, it's not as big as snowmobiling, but it's a definite major force in economic engine in Chautauqua County with people coming here.
30 seconds.
Thanks. I'm not sure what that criticism meant exactly, but I would, of course, market access to the genealogical records to those that would be obviously interested, people with a connection to our genealogical history in Chautauqua County. So I have a marketing expertise, and I would like to use that on behalf of the residents of Chautauqua County.
Do you, last question before closing, do you foresee additional or different tasks for the county clerk's office? Mr. Barmore.
Yes, I've been promoting since May. Of course, it's not my idea, but we have the Return the Favor card at the county clerk's office. It's for honorably discharged veterans. We currently have about 55 businesses signed up, about 350 veterans. You can come to the county clerk's office. We give you a free picture identification card that identifies you as an honorably discharged veteran. And then you can go to any one of the listed businesses and get the discounts that they offer. One thing I'm going to push in the coming months and years is to make sure that every veteran in Chautauqua County knows about this program, that every business knows about this program. I don't think the program will be deemed totally successful until we have over 1,000 veterans signed up and at least 200 or 300 businesses giving discounts to these veterans. Another thing that we've said in the past is we're going to relaunch the Renew Locally campaign. We get 12.7% of every dollar spent.
Thank you. Ms. Cornell.
Thank you. I've also come out and stated that we need to restart the Renew Local campaign. I actually requested funding for that under this year's budget when we held our administrative services budget hearings about a month or so ago. When we retained 12.7% of the local share, it helps to contribute to the lowering of our overall tax burden in Chautauqua County. Some other major initiatives that are new to the Office of County Clerk that I would like to institute are I've committed to visiting in person all of our veterans organizations, seniors clubs in the first year in office so that we can in person deliver the services that they deserve, such as the Return the Favor Veterans Card. I want to be a hands-on, in-touch, attentive county clerk. I've also pledged to visit all of our local high schools over the course of my term so that so teen drivers and their families can access important resources.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
We will now allow 1 minute for a concluding statement. We begin with
Mr. Barmore.
Mr. Barmore.
Mrs. Cornell and I agree on many things. We just have fundamentally different views on the details. We both believe the county clerk should have experience. I believe that experience should relate to the job. It's a management position in a customer service field. For more than 40 years, I have managed staff and provided customer service, things the county clerk does every day. We both agree politics doesn't belong in the county clerk's office. I'm a career businessman, not a career politician. The last 6 years on the legislature has provided me with the knowledge as to how county government works, but it's my experience in business and customer service that will govern how I run the office. Finally, our current county clerk, Sandy Sopak, has spent 20 years turning the county clerk's office into the jewel of county government. Sandy Sopak wants her work to continue into the future. For this reason, Sandy has endorsed me to be the next county clerk and has actively campaigned on my behalf. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and will the town of Pomfret
No.
Mrs.
Oh, I'm
Cornell.
sorry, I'm so sorry, Lori.
That's okay.
I'm ready to go. Okay, I'm sorry.
No, it's
It
okay.
seems like I've heard it already, but
And I forgot to give a quick shout out to my friends from Fredonia High School that I met today. Thank you for being here. If you want someone to change your tires and your brakes very well, Mr. Barmore is the man for you. If you want a county clerk with 15 years extensive experience in a related field of public service, then I respectfully ask for your consideration. I keep my grandfather's business card in my day planner here. He started an excavating and hauling business and was once recognized in the local paper for his hard work and ingenuity. His CB handle was Little Hustler. Tonight I talked about my professional background and qualifications for the office. I'm an experienced leader, not a manager in an unrelated business. But I don't want you to vote for me because of fancy degrees and credentials. I want you to vote for me because, like my grandfather, I will work very hard every day on your behalf. I will take a nonpartisan, independent approach. I will stand up on your behalf just as I have as a legislator. Thank you very much.
thank you very much. Sorry.